You might have heard of hemoglobin, present in RBCs that carries oxygen to each and every blood cells from lungs. You might have heard of vitamin B12 that helps to maintain a healthy body nervous system. Or you might have heard of chlorophyll, the picture of which you can see on your screen right now. The green pigment chlorophyll present in chloroplast. This pigment converts carbon dioxide and water to oxygen and glucose using sunlight. Do you know all these compounds, all these essential compounds are nothing but coordination compounds? Hi all, I am Keval Nayal. In today's lecture of Coordination Compound Part 1, I am going to discuss the basics and nomenclature of coordination compound. So let us start. The topic that we will be covering in this video includes a brief discussion about ligands, double salt and coordination compound, Werner's postulates, oxidation state and coordination number, types of complexes, and IUPAC nomenclature. You can see a diagram on your screen which is of cisplatin. Cisplatin again is a coordination compound. It is used in the treatment of cancer. This compound binds with DNA and inhibits the growth of cancer cells. Before you understand anything about ligands, you need to understand what coordinate bond actually is. You can see an example on the screen in which you can see a covalent bond formed between nitrogen and hydrogen. Yes, a covalent bond. A covalent bond is nothing but sharing of electrons between two atoms. So in this case, nitrogen has donated one of its electron and hydrogen has donated one of its electron, forming a covalent bond. But there is also another bond seen between ammonia and H plus. In this case, H plus doesn't have any electron to form a bond, whereas nitrogen has a pair of electrons. Here, nitrogen donates both of its electron to H plus, forming a coordinate bond. So what we understand by this is that a covalent bond is nothing but an equal sharing of electrons between two atoms, while a coordinate bond is unequal sharing of electrons between two atoms. One atom will be called as the donor atom, the one which will donate the electron, and the other one will be the acceptor atom, which will accept the electrons. The donor atom is termed as ligands, while the acceptor atoms can be anything, but mostly it is a D block metal. With, with the diagram, I would like you all to understand the hybridization in covalent and in coordinate bond. In covalent bond, the half-filled atomic orbital gets hybridized, while in coordinate bond, the empty orbitals gets hybridized, as the ligands are going to donate both the electrons and not one. Now we can start with ligands. As told earlier, ligands are nothing but the donor atoms in a coordination complex. Now this donor atom can be negative, called as the negative ligand, can be neutral, that means it doesn't have any charge, will be neutral ligand, or it could also be positive, which is not very common but known as positive ligands. Here are some of the examples of negative ligands and neutral ligands. What we need to remember over here is, in coordination compound, a suffix O is added in the name of negative ligands. For example, the ligand azide N3 minus becomes azido. Bromide Br minus becomes bromo or bromido. Chloride Cl minus becomes chlorido. Similarly, we have cyanide as cyano, fluoride as fluoro, hydroxide as hydroxo, carbonato, oxalato, which is derived from oxalic acid. Oxide becomes oxo, and here are some of the neutral ligands. The suffix O is not added to the neutral ligands, but the name is changed. Ammonia NH3 becomes amine. Now, even though it doesn't have a negative charge, still it can donate, as ammonia has a lone pair with nitrogen. Nitrogen can donate its lone pair and form coordination complex. Carbon monoxide becomes carbonyl. Ethylene diamine becomes ethylene diamine is EN or ethane 1, 2 diamine. You also have pyridine. Water is named as aqua. Ligands are more or less classified based on denticity. Now, what is denticity? Denticity is nothing but the number of donor atoms that a ligand has. The point of attachment that a ligand can make with the metal. For example, if a ligand has one donor atom, like in the case of water or in the case of ammonia, in the case of water, the donor atom is oxygen, where oxygen is donating its lone pair of electron. In the case of ammonia, nitrogen is donating its lone pair of electron. Or chloride, where the donor atom is Cl, or bromide, where the donor atom is Br. So in this case, we have one donor atom and there will be one point of attachment between ligand and metal. This is called as, such ligands are called as monodentate ligands. If a ligand and a metal has more than one point of attachments, they will be called as polydentate ligands, like bidentate ligands or tridentate ligands or hexadentate ligands. Some of the examples of bidentate ligands are in front of you. For example, ethylene diamine, which is nothing but a bidentate ligand. In this compound, there are two nitrogen atoms, and both nitrogen atoms will be donating its lone pair to the central metal. So there is one ligand, there is one metal, but there are two attachments. Similarly, you have bipyridine, again two nitrogen atoms. You have phenanthroline, which again has two nitrogen atoms. You have oxalato. This is nothing but oxalic acid. Hydrogen is being removed, and the single bonded oxygen will be attached to the central metal atom. You can also have a polydentate ligands. For example, diethylene triamine. If ethylene diamine is En, diethylene triamine is diene. Here you can see you have two ethylene groups and you have three nitrogens. Hence, you have 3 points of attachment. In triphosphate ion, you have 3 donor oxygen atoms, single bonded oxygen atoms. The final example of polydentate ligands is nothing but EDTA, which you might have heard, which is used as a treatment for lead poisoning. Here it is called a chelation therapy. This is a hexadentate ligand, and as you can see, you have 2 nitrogens and 4 single bonded oxygen. So there are 6 donor atoms in one ligand, that is EDTA. Some of the monodentate ligands are given a special name called as ambidentate ligands. What are these ambidentate ligands? Over here, we have one point of attachment. As it is monodentate, we have one point of attachment. However, there are two donor atoms. For example, in the case of cyanide and isocyanide, you have CN. So carbon has a negative charge while nitrogen has a lone pair of electron. So metal cyanide MCN can be a bond or MNC can be a bond. Here the attachment can be from carbon or nitrogen, either way. So such ligands are called as ambidentate ligands. Other examples are nitro and nitrito, where NO2 has a lone where nitrogen has a lone pair on N and oxygen has a negative charge. So it could be MNO2 or it could be MONO. You can also have thiocyanato, which is MSCN, or isothiocyanate, which is MnCs. What we need to remember over here is, while naming ambidentate ligands, we are supposed to mention the point of attachment. Like when we will be naming nitrito, we will be writing it as nitrito-O or nitro-N, like that. Here I am going to tell you about some of the important ligands that you need to remember. The first bidentate ligands in it is ethylene diamine. You have CH2, single bonded CH2, and there are two nitrogens attached to the two carbons. Ethylene diamine, it is nothing but a neutral ligand. There is no charge on it, neither positive nor negative. And as you can see, you have one metal and one ligand, but there are 2 points of attachment. The other ligand that you need to remember is oxalato. Again, here you have two donor atoms and both the donor atoms are oxygen. Again, we will call this as a AA type, as both the donor atoms, like ethylene diamine, are same. In ethylene diamine, the donor atoms were nitrogen. Here the donor atoms is negative oxygen. As it is negative, so it is nothing but a negative ligand. A complex is being given over here. As you can see, platinum has 4 bonds, 4 coordination bonds, but there are only 2 ligands because the oxalato ligand is a bidentate ligand. The other ligand that you need to remember is glycino. Now, this is nothing but a combination of the first two. You can take one half of ethylene diamine and you can take the other half of oxalato and you can join it together, and what you will get is glycino. We call this as an AB type ligand, as here both the donor atoms are different. One is oxygen minus and the other one is nitrogen. This is a negative ligand. However, it has only one minus charge because of one negative oxygen. Oxalato has 2 minus charge because of 2 negative oxygen. Again, as you can see by the diagram, there is a central metal atom which has 4 bonds, 4 coordinate bonds, but only 2 ligands are attached over here. If instead of oxalato, ethylene diamine or glycino, if the ligand would have been water or ammonia, तो 4 water या 4 ammonia लगते थे. After learning briefly about ligands, let us try to understand how this coordination compound came into existence. Some compounds called as double salts were introduced first. These compounds were high molecular weight compounds which looked like a combination of 2 or more salts merged together. For example, Mohr salt or potash alum. Potash alum is Fitkari, which is used to purify water. Now, when these salts were hydrated, they got ionized into its constituent ions. Like Mohr salt got ionized as Fe+2, ammonium, sulfate ions. Potash alum got ionized as aluminium, potassium and sulfate ions. But not all double salts were same. Some compounds which appeared like double salt did not ionize completely. For example, when ammoniated copper sulfate was hydrated, it gave us a complex ion, which is nothing but CuNH3 square bracket 2 plus and sulfate ion, as you can see it on your screen. And from here, we distinguished between double salt and coordination compound. These were different compounds. There are some compounds which are high molecular weight and appears to be like a combination of 2 salts, but they are not. When they are put in water, they are not ionizing completely like any other normal salt would do, and such compounds were called as coordination compounds. So the basic difference between a double salt and a coordination compound is that a double salt will be ionized completely to cation or anion, but a coordination compound will give us at least one complex ion. Complex ion, this is a new term that you have heard. Complex ion, unlike cation or anion, is different. Over here, it is denoted by, it is represented in square brackets. Over here, you have a central metal and ligand surrounding it. This is complex ion. Further, the difference between double salt and coordination compound can be understood by its chemical test. For example, in a double salt, the constituent element and the property of the double salt will be same. If it is dissolved in aqueous medium, still the properties will be retained. But in a coordination compound, the property of Fe plus 2 ion and the property of FeCN6 2 plus complex will not be same, as it has formed a coordination compound. This helps us to understand that double salt and coordination compound, even though their molecular formula looks identical, but they are very different from each other. Alfred Werner further explained the coordination compound. He helped us to understand how this coordination compound looks and how does it form bonds. The first thing that Werner proposed was, unlike normal covalent bonds or covalent compounds, here the central atom has two valencies. In a normal covalent compound, the central atom has only one valency. For example, in NaCl, Na has a valency oxidation state +1. MgCl2, magnesium, has +2. AlCl3 will have +3. In CCl4, carbon will have +4. SiCl4, Si will have +4. But over here, in a coordination complex, the compound will have two valencies. One is the normal old oxidation state of the central atom, and the other is the coordination number. As you can see in the diagram, in this complex, the square bracket is the complex ion. The central atom is cobalt. Its oxidation state is +3. That means it has lost 3 electrons to form this compound. Then there are 6 ligands attached to it. So the 6 ligands is nothing but the coordination number. Coordination number is nothing but the number of ligands attached to the central atom. So over here, the oxidation state of cobalt is +3 and the number of ligands attached to cobalt is 6. So unlike normal covalent compound, it is not like if it has an oxidation of state of +3, there could only be 3 bonds formed. Here, the bond is formed by empty orbitals and not by unpaired electrons. So we need to understand there are two valencies. Over here, as you can see, cobalt has +3 oxidation state. 2 chlorine is attached to it, 2 Cl minus is attached to it, which makes the total +3 minus 2, 2 plus 1. That is why the complex have +1 charge. We won't count any charge for ammonia as it is a neutral ligand. And as the complex has +1 charge, a negative Cl minus is attracted to the complex. So Werner further said कि in a coordination compound you have two spheres. One is the coordination sphere and the other is the ionization sphere. The coordination sphere is the one present in the square bracket where we have the central metal atom and the ligands attached to the central metal atoms. And in the ionization sphere, we have ions which is ionically bonded to the complex ion because of the charges on the coordination sphere. Werner further said that the ion present in the ionization sphere can only be ionized. For example, if this complex is hydrated, we will get COCl2NH34 plus aqueous and Cl minus ions. We won't get three chloride ions, only one chloride ion will be ionized as it is present in the ionization sphere. So Werner said a normal coordination compound has two valencies. One is the oxidation state of the central atom, that is a primary valency, and the coordination number, which is a secondary valency. Also, it has two spheres. The primary sphere as the called as the ionization sphere, and the secondary sphere as the coordination sphere. Werner further proved that the ligands which are present in the coordination sphere has a fixed geometry and not the one present in the ionization sphere. Werner further proved his theory by explaining this example or kind of this example. You can see four different reactions on the screen. The coordination number of the central metal atom is 6. That means 6 ligands are attached to cobalt. In the first example, where we have COCl3 and 6 ammonia, the complex looks something like this. The 6 ammonia is present in the coordination sphere and the 3 chloride ion in the ionization sphere. In the second example, 5 ammonia and 1 chlorine is present in the coordination sphere and 2 chloride ions are present in the ionization sphere. In the third example, 4 ammonia and 2 chlorides are present in the coordination sphere inside, and only 1 chloride is present outside the coordination sphere, that is in the ionization sphere. In the last example, we have altogether 6 ions, so everything is present in the coordination sphere and nothing is present outside the sphere. As we all know, Cl minus has great affinity towards Ag plus. Ag plus and Cl minus forms a white precipitate, that is AgCl. So in these complexes, when AgNO3 aqueous solution was introduced, the first one gave a precipitate of 3 AgCl, indicating 3 chloride ion was present in the ionization sphere which got ionized. In the second example, only 2 moles of AgCl was obtained, indicating that out of the 3 chloride, 1 chloride was present inside the coordination sphere which couldn't be ionized, and 2 present in the ionization sphere got ionized and formed 2 AgCl. Similarly, in the third one, 2 chloride were present inside the coordination sphere and 1 in the ionization sphere which got ionized to give 1 AgCl, and surprisingly even the compound has chloride ion. No precipitate was obtained in the fourth example because all the 3 chloride ions were present inside the coordination sphere. So this proves Werner's theory that the ions present in the ionization sphere will be ionized and not the ones present in the coordination sphere. We can understand this by this short diagram. You can see the central metal cobalt over here. You can see the 6 ammonia ligands which has formed coordinate bond with the central metal atom, and you can see 3 dotted lines of chloride Cl minus, which is nothing but the ionization sphere. The 3 chloride ion will be ionized over here in this example, but not the 6 ammonia ions. It's very easy to calculate or understand what coordination number is. Coordination number is nothing but the number of ligands attached to the metal atom, central metal atom, but it's a little difficult to calculate oxidation state. So let us see an example how to calculate oxidation state. So over here you can see the central metal is cobalt. There are 6 ligands attached to the central metal atom. One is isothiocyanate N, and the other one is ammonia, that is amine. There are 5 amine attached to cobalt and 1 isothiocyanate. So the coordination number is 6. Now how to calculate the oxidation state? Now let us consider the oxidation state of cobalt to be X. So cobalt will be X. Now as isothiocyanate is a negative ligand. You can understand that by the name also. It's isothiocyanate. O is O is introduced as a suffix, so it's a negative ligand. So it has a -1 valency. And ammonia is a neutral ligand, so it has 0 valency. So X -1 plus 0, and the charge on the complex ion will be +2, as sulfate SO4 is 2 minus or sulfide SO3 is 2 minus, so the complex will be +2. So hence it will be X -1 plus 5 equal to +2. If you will calculate this, you will get the central metal atom as +3. Similarly, in the second one, the coordination number is 6, as 6 ligands are attached to it. You can see there. And if we will consider the oxidation state to be X, again there is sulfate outside, so SO4, so the complex ion will be +2, as sulfate is -2. If it would have been Cl, so that means it is Cl -1, so the complex would have been +1. So you need to understand this. So cobalt is X, ammonia is 0 as it's a neutral ligand, chloride is -1, Cl -1, and there are 2 chlorides, so 2 into -1 will be -2. When you will calculate this, the central atom has +4 oxidation state. Further, we'll try to understand the different types of complexes. Now again, complexes can be classified in different manner. The first one can be based on charges. So the complexes can be a cationic complex, can be an anionic complex, or can be a neutral complex, as you can see by the diagram. In the cationic complex, you have a complex, and after the complex you have chloride. So chloride is negative, so that means the complex is positive. So, and in by this example, the complex will be +3, as there is 3 Cl minus outside, that is in the ionization sphere. The anionic complex is the second example, where you can see there are 4 potassium outside. That means the complex has 4 minus charges. In the last one, you have NiCO4. There is nothing outside. That means the complex is neither cationic nor anionic. So it's a neutral complex. So if the complex has positive charge, it will be cationic. If the complex has negative charge, it will be anionic. And if the complex has neutral charge, it will be neutral. As there's no charge, it will be neutral. Complexes can be also classified based on the ligands, that is homoleptic complex or heteroleptic complex. Very simple, homoleptic complex means the central metal will have the same type of ligands attached to it, while in heteroleptic complex there will be different types of ligands attached to the central metal atom. As you can see in the first example, K4FeCN6, the central atom Fe has 6 cyanide ligands, that is the ligands are same, while in the second example the ligands are different. One is chlorine, one is ammonia, so it's heteroleptic complex. Further, we can say the complexes can be classified as mononuclear and polynuclear. In mononuclear, there will be only one central metal atom, while in polynuclear there will be 2 central metal atom. As you can see over here, you have 2 manganese, and there are 5 carbonyl groups attached to each manganese. So these are the types of complexes: cationic, anionic, neutral. homoleptic, heteroleptic, mononuclear and polynuclear. Now we are on to the last part of the lecture, that is nomenclature. We are done with the basics. We have to move ahead with this chapter. But before moving to isomerism or hybridization or CFT, we need to understand how to name these complexes, how to name this coordination compound. So there are some IUPAC rules which you need to understand one by one. So the first rule of naming a coordination complex is that you're supposed to name the cation first. If the cation is the complex, you're supposed to name the complex first, and if the cation is the other ion, that is the ion present in the ionization sphere, you're supposed to name that first. For example, in the first example, there are two chlorides in the ionization sphere. That means the complex is a positive one. So here you will be naming the complex first and then you will be writing chloride. In the second example, you have sodium and then you have the complex. So that means the complex is negative. It's an anionic complex. So you are supposed to name the name sodium first, that is the cation first, and then the complex ion. One thing you need to understand is while naming the ions present in the ionization sphere, you are not supposed to mention the number. In the first example, it will not be named as dichloride. Simple, it will be written as chloride. Or in the second example, it will not be disodium, it will be sodium. And it's pretty simple, as Na2CO3 is named as sodium carbonate and not disodium carbonate. We generally tend to write the numbers when the bond is a shared bond, like a covalent or a coordinate bond. Like it will be carbon tetrachloride, but when you will be naming Na2CO3, it will only be sodium carbonate, not disodium carbonate. So over here, the ions that is in the ionization sphere number should not be mentioned. The second rule is whenever you're naming a complex, be it first or be it second, while naming complex, you need to name the ligand first and then the metal. And if it is an heteroleptic complex, that means if it has more than one type of ligand, you are supposed to name the ligands alphabetically. For example, if you have amine and if you have chloride, so A comes first and then C, amine comes before chloride. Over here, when you will be naming ligands, number has to be mentioned, indicating the coordination number. Also, while naming ambidentate ligands, as told earlier, you need to understand that whenever you will be naming ambidentate ligands, you will have to mention the point of attachment. Like it could be nitrito N or it could be nitrito O. It could be thiocyanato S or it could be isothiocyanato N. For cyanide, the letter is not necessary that you mention the letters. Even if you mention the letters, it is just fine. So over here in the first example, you have 6 ligands. One is chloride and there are 5 amines. So it is named as pentaamine and chloro. If it is a ligand, negative ligand, a suffix O has to be added. So you will understand if it is a ligand or if it is an ion present in the ionization sphere, because over here the chloride present in the coordination sphere will be named as chloro, and the chloride present in the ionization sphere is just named as chloride. So it is pentaamine chloro, while in the second example it is oxide and it is chloro. So chloro is named first, so it is tetrachloro. Oxide becomes oxo as it's a negative ligand, oxo, and then you have the metal is named later on. Again, the next thing that you need to understand is you have named the cations, you have named the ligands, now you are supposed to name the metal. Now what you're supposed to do is, if your complex is an anionic complex. If it's a negative complex, then a suffix ate is used. That means if it's a negative complex, then zinc becomes zincate, aluminum becomes aluminate, gold becomes aurate, chromium becomes chromate. So a suffix ate is added. This ate will indicate whether the complex is negative or the complex is positive or neutral. If the complex is positive or neutral, no suffix has to be added. Chromium will be chromium, aluminum will be aluminum. Also, after naming the metal, its oxidation state has to be mentioned in Roman letters in the round brackets. So now you can see the naming completely right now, as you have the central the complex ion is positive, it is named first. So it is pentaamine chloro cobalt. As it is positive, it is only cobalt, the oxidation state is 3, and then chloride is written. In the second one, sodium is written first, then you have tetrachloro oxo, and as over here the complex is negative, it is molybdate, and the oxidation state, that is the +4, is written in the round brackets. One more point that I would like to explain is, if your ligand, if the name of the ligand has a number in it, for example ethylene diamine or EDTA, that is ethylene diamine tetraacetato, so in that case the number of ligand will not be named as diethylene diamine or triethylene diamine. Instead it will be named as bis bracket ethylene diamine. You can see over here in this particular example, we have platinum En twice, and then you have carbonate outside. It's a positive complex as carbonate is outside, so it will be platinum and not platinate. But if we will name this as diethylene diamine, yeah, by diethylene diamine, that it gives us an indication that there are two ethylene groups and there are two amine groups, which is incorrect. So instead we will name it as bis ethylene diamine platinum, the oxidation state 2 is written, and then we have carbonate. Many examples over here is given over here, so you can just solve this by yourself and check whether you get it right or wrong. There are more practice questions regarding the oxidation state, coordination number, and IUPAC nomenclature, which is mentioned over here. What you're supposed to do is write down the name or write down the compounds, mention the oxidation state, coordination number, and also identify which type of complex it is, whether it's a neutral complex, positive complex, negative complex. This is one category, whether it's an homoleptic heteroleptic complex, or whether it is all, or whether it is a mononuclear or polynuclear complex. Thank you everybody. We will be meeting, I'll come up with coordination number part 2 soon.